call the special board meeting of the St. Joseph School District Board of Education to order. Roll call, please, Donna.
Yes. Mr. Gilmore?
Here.
Dr. Green?
Here.
Ms. Witham? Here. Ms. Pasley?
Here.
Mr. Reader? Crickets. Mr. Foster?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Here.
Thank you. Will you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I need a motion to move to executive session.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. And a second?
Are we gonna,
Do we have to read this whole thing? Yes, please.
we're doing this under executive session?
Yeah.
No, this will come back under, we're going into executive session, so we can handle that first before we go to this and open session again. So would you read, David, with your motion, what's printed on the agenda, please, pursuant to?
I don't have.
Move to executive session pursuant to 610.021, closed meetings and closed records for 3, hiring, firing, disciplining, or promotion of particular employees, and 13, individually identifiable personnel records.
Thank you. And a second?
David can second that.
David can second. So motion made by Ms. Witham, seconded by Mr. Foster.
Jeff Davis.
Call the roll, please.
Tammy Pasley?
Yes.
Dr. Brian Green?
Yes.
Rick Gilmore?
Yes.
Lori Witham?
Yes.
David Foster?
Here.
Kenneth Reader? Latanya Williams?
Yes.
Okay, and now we need to move into executive session. So I'd ask the people in the audience that aren't a part of the executive session to leave, and this should just take us a few minutes, I think. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, moving on on our open session to item number 7, approval of the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Witham, and a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And call for the vote?
Yes. Ms. Pasley?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Witham? Yes. Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 8, approve the June 28th, 2021 Board of Education meeting minutes. I would entertain a motion to be able to do that.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Dr. Green, and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Witham. Dr. Green motion, Mrs. Witham seconded, and call for the vote.
Ms. Pasley?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Witham?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 9, Personnel and Finance Treasurer's Report. A, additional pay rates for 21-22. Dr. Kraus.
Yes. The change that we're requesting, we'll give you a little background on so you know the steps this has gone through. Eileen, as the communications director, after she was here for a while, saw some things that she wanted to do a little differently. One of them had to do with the webmasters. Prior to this year, we had a webmaster in each building that was paid $500. That included the elementaries. They want to make a shift to where Sharice Giesbert is doing more of the elementary webmaster things, and then Ashley does a lot of it. And so they have requested, and I know they presented this to Dr. Van Zyl for his approval first, to go to a system where they have a webmaster only at the high schools and the middle schools. The high schools, they're recommending they pay them $1,500 per year and $750 at the middle school level. The reason being that the amount of web activity is tied pretty closely to the amount of extracurriculars that go on. Obviously, the high schools have the most, middle schools next. At the elementaries, Sharice can handle that, and she will be the one who monitors the time of the middle school and high school webmasters. In the job descriptions that you'll see in the next item, the high school people are required to log twice as many hours as the middle school people, thus the double amount of pay. So they're requesting $1,500 for the high school and $750 for the middle school.
And that's an excellent way to communicate with the community of those schools is through this website.
Yes.
So very well worth it. And Sharice has done an amazing job these last few years with what she's handled in that, for those of you that aren't familiar with that. So I would entertain a motion to approve these additional pay rates for high school and middle school?
I would point out it's not additional cost because you're saving the people from the elementary's position.
It's actually a decrease.
Okay, because it says additional pay rates, so I was just.
Right, well, that's the scale that it's
Okay.
on. So it doesn't cost you as a district anymore, but you are ramping up some expectations at the high school and middle school level. And then she's been handling most of the elementary work. Not that our folks haven't logged in, but
Right.
she normally helps with them anyway.
Great, thank you for that information, Dr.
So,
Benson.
a net savings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, net savings and a better job. Better structure,
Better
yes.
structure. More
Okay.
efficient
Yeah.
structure.
Uh-huh.
Then itself makes me have a little bit more, for clarification. This was how many positions?
Prior to this year, there were 23, there was one at each school building, and now it'll be 6. 3 middle schools, the 4th middle school Sharice is already at, and she already has a stipend. So it'll be 3 middle school positions and 3 high school positions.
This is not FTE we're talking about, but just,
It's people who, it was basically the librarians who oversaw it at the elementary level, so this was an additional stipend that they got on top of their normal duties was to oversee the website, which they would normally get some help from Sharice on a regular basis. Anyhow, she said she's managed most of the elementaries as well.
Because so we're really relieving some,
So you're not taking,
Staff off to play
no
with the
person is
library.
losing a full-time position, it's folks who are doing $500 stipend position to monitor the website. This is something that even talking to her, there wasn't some expectations and consistency in place. She's able to establish some expectations and consistency of what she expects to see on those websites.
And
So we're
what do
saving
they move?
$6,500. We're saving $6,500, is
is that the net?
I don't-
Real close to
it's
that.
close,
We were
somewhere
paying
around
out 23 times 500 is 11,500. And now we'd be paying out 4,500 plus 2,250, 6,750, so.
About $5,000.
almost cut it in half, yeah.
Were you done, Mr. Reader?
No,
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we have the motion and the second, so.
You do not have a
Oh,
motion.
so I need a motion to approve this.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
and again, what is this?
This is go ahead and explain it.
It's a change to the additional pay rates document from every webmaster, having a webmaster in every building receiving $500, and the switch being to have 3 at the middle school who receive $750, and 3 at the high school that receive $1,500.
And when you meant monitoring, Mr. Van Zalwa, what, we're talking about monitoring that everything's up and running or updates and stuff like
Sharice
that?
oversees that. She already gets paid an additional stipend to monitor the website, so make sure that the schools log on, the people in charge of them log on, update on a regular basis, and they actually put in the hours that they're supposed to do to get paid for the stipend.
So they monitor only internally?
Yep, it's just to
Just
make sure that
internal.
the people who are supposed to be doing it are taken care of. So when you go onto a website, you don't see something that says April of 2021,
Right.
now that we're in July.
Okay, thanks. Thank you
Sure.
very much.
Yep.
Okay, and I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Witham, second. So, call
You
the
ready
vote?
for your vote?
Mhm.
Okay. Ms. Pasley?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Witham?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. B, high school and middle school web manager job descriptions. Dr. Kraus.
Hopefully you received those in your board packet. They are identical except for the second bullet from the bottom on the first page. It says 1 hour per week on the middle school webmaster and 2 hours per week on the high school. These have been run by the people who will be expected to use them, and Sharice and Ashley both had input on them, and Eileen approved them and thought they were fine. So I would ask for you to approve these.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Dr. Green, and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gilmore. So motion made by Dr. Green, seconded by Mr. Gilmore. Any other questions or discussions on the job descriptions? Seeing none, call for the vote, please.
Ms. Pasley?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Witham?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. C, professional salary schedule.
At the June board meeting, the board approved to add a core data analyst to our working personnel. And this puts it on the professional salary schedule on the range 3. And so this would then be the rate at which that person is compensated.
So, I need a motion to approve putting that position on the professional salary schedule.
Okay, could we have an explanation of what's going on?
Yeah, I'll make the motion
Uh-huh.
and then we'll,
And then can I get a second, then we'll discuss?
Second.
Thank you. So motion made by Dr. Green, seconded by Mrs. Witham, and yes, discussion. Mr. Reader, go ahead and ask your question.
Did you just want clarification on what that position is?
Yes,
It's the one that Gabe shared with you last board meeting about how they'll be able to monitor the, some blank on the name.
Core
of the
data.
program. Core data position. And so that's what that is. And it's just, we didn't have that position on the salary schedule. So in order to place it on the salary schedule, you as a board have to approve that. You approved the position, but you didn't approve the placement on the salary schedule last time. So this was a catch that we had missed placing it on the schedule. We should have presented them both to you probably at the same time. Does that make sense?
right.
It's that position I think he visited with you about before
Right.
when he was explaining the core data and how that impacts a lot of stuff for us as a district.
Pay that we get from the state.
Yeah.
Is it a one-time year thing or for 3 years, or is it permanent?
It's a full-time position
From
as
here
long
on.
as we need it. It's just, the salary schedule was already there, but when you look at our salary schedules that lists what positions fall into each area, the name of that position wasn't listed on the salary schedule, so we have to place that on the salary schedule. Is that accurate, Dr.
Yeah.
Kraus?
And it went to the professional level 3 salary scale, correct?
Yeah,
Yes, it's on range
Okay.
3.
yep.
So then that's significantly different from where it was?
We
We
never
didn't
had
have it
this
before.
position before.
Oh.
So this is the new position. That's why it wasn't on the schedule before. That's why we had to place it on there.
So we approved the position, we just didn't approve it on.
Yeah, and we should have had the two coupled together with the approval of position. And I think Gabe talked about where it was gonna go, and in hindsight, we didn't bring it at the same time to place it on the schedule, so they caught
So
it.
we approved the position and the salary at that time.
You said
just
we were
didn't
told
put
what
it
the
on
salary
schedule.
was gonna be, but it just wasn't, it's not listed on our salary
On the
schedule for anybody to
Right.
be able to see.
Kim, this,
Right, it wasn't,
So now it is, so
Wasn't a
it'll show
significant
exactly, so it
salary.
shows exactly where it goes, yeah.
it was not a significant salary thing, so.
No, yeah, absolutely.
and Ken, to clarify and stop me if I'm being redundant, this position is in charge of gathering the data of our district and reporting it to the state. So data that we need to be very accurate. Previously, this was farmed out amongst lots of different people who would report on their specific area, but it might fall in priority to what those individuals were doing with their jobs. So this person is taking that off of other people's plates and making sure that this data is accurate and correct
And timely.
and timely, so that we are giving that information to the state, because reimbursement also is dependent upon that.
It's good that they're monitoring it.
Yeah.
This person is independent. Whereas, there's always that thing, where do these numbers come from? And, there was always pressure to put numbers a certain way.
Sure. Maybe.
So this person is in a level or something like that, where what they do is like certified in some way, that they know they've got the facts. And they went out to the schools and got them themselves, or they still rely on the numbers that are reported to them through the schools?
They will help make sure that the information that gets put into the system is done the way it's supposed to be, so the numbers coming from the schools or like the online enrollment that we have filling out, they'll help verify that all that information is correct so that our students actually show up as being reported the way they're supposed to be reported. So there's multiple layers to what they're going to do. It's just not, they're gonna also be able to help monitor to make sure that the information is put in correctly as well. So they really become a kind of a specialist in that area that a lot of districts our size and larger have, because it is a very big area. Instead of HR having a person that oversees it and finance having somebody in academic services, now have somebody who is gonna oversee it and then they report to me instead of having to report to a specific department, because it is something that impacts the whole district.
And sure, well, and this population decline is so significant to our budget in every way, that that's always been one of the big trust-breaking factors out here among the people, and especially from people who were inside the system and later could speak or whatever. Those numbers were always tweaked, of course, in our favor, so to speak. But that's why, I mean, you had 28 people reporting a number. Nobody was verifying what they were saying was true.
We still only had one person that reported the number, and that goes to the state, and our auditor has to verify all those things. So it's not, nothing can be tweaked. The auditor has to also take a look at it based off of the data that they have. So there already is somebody independently outside of the district through the auditor that takes a look at our numbers and verifies it. And the state also has to take a look at the information and verify it as well. So there's multiple checks to that.
Thanks again
Sure.
for the info.
Yeah, absolutely.
Connect the dots easier.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank
So
you.
we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or
Was
discussion?
was this a job description that fell under a director when
No,
we were first on the board?
We've never had this position.
You've never had this
Right.
position. The
So
person
it's-
that oversees it now currently is under the technology department.
But we're gonna, this position now will fall directly under Dr.
So we're taking
Van
it
Zyl.
out of technology because it impacts, as I said, human resources, business finance, human resources, everybody, so that now there's one area, and since it impacts everybody, we felt like it was better to place it under our office, my office.
But not as a director, sir, right?
No, they're not a director.
Not as a director, okay. Because that,
But
They're
I think
the,
when we
whatever
first
the
got on
title
board,
of it
and
is.
maybe when Brian was hired, this fell under a director level position.
well, and that's what confused me about phase 3 of the professional
We-
level. I thought, okay, this is
We
going to be a
eliminated
significant
that
bump of
position
salary, and it wasn't.
early in your tenure, I believe, Brian.
Tim Ellis was in a position called,
You had multiple
He
other
wasn't-
technology
yeah,
positions that
yeah.
you no longer have
Right.
that oversaw different things.
Director of Data Services or something.
That's the name I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Tim Ellis, I believe, was here the first year that I was here.
Okay.
And when Dr. Newhart did some reorganization of the administrative structure, that was.
Excuse me.
But I'm not exactly sure he was core data. He,
Okay.
what he did maybe wasn't this job description,
Probably
might have
another
been
thing.
part of it, but I think it
Part
was
of it.
still farmed out to multiple
Yes.
people. And now we're putting it under one,
Right.
Okay. Okay.
and not as a director, right,
And reporting directly
to the
to
superintendent.
Oh, it's a professional level 3 is not a director level.
Exactly,
No, right.
exactly.
But, and since the position didn't exist now, what's below professional level? What's the next classification below professional level?
Well, it depends on what it is. We have a nutrition services salary schedule, we have a maintenance salary schedule, we have a teacher salary schedule, we have administrative salary schedule. This is called professional salary schedule because it encompasses a lot of different professions. If you noticed on there, it's our architect, it's,
There's actually 7 ranges. You start at range 1 to range 7 on your professional salary schedule. So this one goes at range 3. So there are various ones, and we can get you the listing of people.
No, that's fine, forward to me sometime, thank
Okay.
you very much.
Yeah, we can send it to you.
I'll look through it. I
yeah.
mean,
And at the bottom of that, it lists the different people that we consider professional salary to be on this particular salary schedule.
Right, at each one of those steps, or those 7 steps, they have certain qualification that meets it, that they're in.
They're assigned to that
from-
range.
Yeah, from what
Yeah.
they do.
Right, and
Correct.
the responsibilities they have.
And then
yeah.
once you get assigned because of what you do, then the levels are within that category of
Exactly.
raises or matrix increases.
Then they're within the steps on the side.
Yes,
They're basically
right.
years of experience.
Uh-huh. Okay, call for the vote, please.
Oops, gotta get back in there. Sorry. I have to look at it. Okay, Ms. Pasley?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Witham?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. D, personnel report.
Okay, the personnel report was in your packet, and then I left a supplemental at your desks. Just wanted to comment real briefly on, if you notice, there are a large number of transfers on both of these personnel reports. That's because we had to take all the people coming from the virtual academy and also, and with Lake being added as a building, all of those people had to be transferred, and so that's the reason for those. 98% of those are internal transfers, but that's why that list is so long. Are there any questions about the personnel report?
I'll make a motion to accept the personnel report and supplemental as presented.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Green. So motion by Mrs. Witham, seconded by Dr. Green. Call for the vote.
Ms. Pasley?
Yes.
Dr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Witham?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. And E, approval of the bills. Dr. Van Zyl?
Those are just your monthly bills and purchase card expenditures. Since we don't have a scheduled meeting, we need to bring them to you so you can approve them so that we can pay them.
Entertain a motion to approve the bills.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr.
Where are
Gilmore.
those listed?
They were attached to
Underneath
the,
supporting documents, you got
Supporting
payments
documents.
approved for April and then your
On the
P card
computer.
for June.
yeah,
And on the
On the agenda.
on the,
program that y'all have Assembly, they're all listed in there.
Okay,
on the computer.
okay.
And we don't have, sometimes we have supplementals that are like this, but this time we don't. We just have those that were posted on the agenda.
Oh, but usually they would be on the piece of paper.
Not always, no,
No.
they're always posted, and anything that happens from the time Donna posts the agenda to the actual time of our meeting might come as a supplemental. Like Dr. Kraus posted the personnel report, but since Donna posted that, then we've had these additions, so he brings in the supplemental on paper as additions, so we can do them all at one time.
Which is all this other stuff we've talked about already today, right?
Right.
Okay,
So now the bills were posted on the agenda on Assembly, that you could review those, click on the attachment and review them. And those are the bills we're voting on to approve to pay.
and which is this on the agenda?
It's E, approval of bills under 9E, approval of bills.
Monthly bills,
Monthly bills.
Huh?
the monthly bills.
And it does have, is it exclusively dealing with cars? And is this cars assigned to personnel, or the cars that are assigned to personnel that, are school district vehicles?
Okay, if I'm saying it right, it's the regular bills, so amongst it was insurance payments,
Okay.
mileage payments and that. And
Not
then we
just
always
this.
approve
Right.
then our
Yeah.
cards, because we have both bills and then we have cards that certain people in the district, principals,
Yeah, when you
maintenance,
click
whatever
on
have.
the purchase card, that shows you what card, what school it is. Like there's some, you've got a maintenance person that has to run to Home Depot to get something. They've got a purchase card and it shows
Yeah.
what that was and where they did it. Each, school, like Benton High School has something on here, assessment office. So each one has to be assigned to somebody. And then if you need Jenny to explain it, since Dr. Edgar's not here, I can have her share something if you
Oh,
have
no.
a specific question. But yeah, they're just not random cards, they're specifically assigned to a person or a building and they're tracked to know what they are.
And would this include cars that are personal cars, but mileage are input?
Mhm.
Nobody uses a card for
For
personal
mileage.
mileage. You turn in your mileage and then you get reimbursed through a check.
And that's a school district vehicle, correct?
That would be if you're using a school district vehicle, you don't
Okay.
get reimbursed for anything.
So when they're using their personal automobile, then what
Correct.
do they do?
They turn in their mileage. You turn in a map, where you left from, where you go. It pulls up the Google map, you have to show the mileage, you turn that into the business office, they verify it, and they cut you a check.
Approximately how many vehicles out there on a monthly basis would fall in that category? I mean, a few or dozens or
I can find that answer for you, but like during the school year, we have some people that travel between buildings, so they get to turn in their mileage.
Well, even travel out of town for something, right?
Yeah, so, yeah, if you have like a professional conference or
Right,
something
right.
you have to go to, you can do that.
And take your personal car.
You can.
In your-
Yep.
Well, on an ongoing basis, these monthly bills, though, there are some of those in these monthly bills that we reimburse people on a regular,
Yeah.
ongoing basis.
Yep, and you would see those listed, what they are.
And is that what the normal 58 cents a mile?
You approve that as a board every year. Do you remember when
Okay.
we approved that, Dr. Kraus? Don't you, or is that Gabe that brings the mileage change? Normally when the federal government changes it, we bring it to you and you make it align with what the government is.
Right, right. Okay, again, thanks for the info. Sure. About that particular thing.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, correct? No, I need a motion to approve the bills.
I made that motion.
Rick made that motion, and a second was by Lori, right?
I think I did.
And I'm sorry very much. One other thing I can find on there, Doug, on the computer, are those monthly ongoing people that do receive mileage for their car.
You would see, and I'll double check with Jenny, but you should see mileage reimbursement. It should say who it's to if there's a mileage reimbursement.
Okay.
So you should be able to see that, but let me double check for sure. But, because normally that's how it is. It'll say what the bill is and who it goes to. So it shows up almost as a vendor in that transaction, if I'm not mistaken.
And this is one of the main things in finance that we do monthly. This is
Yep.
an ongoing role.
And if you look at
I'm
the-
sorry, it's my first time I've been wanting to get clarification.
That's the only, and that anytime somebody turns in mileage to get reimbursed, it'll show up on your bills.
Ken,
Mm.
if you look right here,
Yeah. all
there's an
right.
example, it has a name,
Good.
it has a mileage, and has the amount.
And if
That's
you
all I
look
need.
like,
That's what I said.
since April, so, April's board meeting, May board meeting, June board meeting, as you look through those every month, because you need to look through those to be able to approve this, you'll see some reoccurring names. And there are
Sure.
people that travel from building to building, maybe traveling teachers or special ed people that go out to buildings, and those names will become very familiar to you because they are being paid every month for that.
When I was a substitute for the district, every mileage between schools, when I had to go to the different schools, I turned it in. Yeah, so.
Okay, so now are we ready to vote? Call for the vote, please.
Ms. Pasley?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Witham?
Yes?
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.